Okay, I'm going to make this instructional video on how to build a Arduino Nano 33 BLE head tracker to use with my digital DJI goggles. And this is what you need. There is obviously a lot of information about this on the internet already, but I thought I'd make this video because people struggle with the wiring and the order in which to solder everything. So I'm just going to make this to show you how to solder this thing up. And first of all, you need a few tools. I've got some soldering paste, I've got some solder, I've got a clamp there, cut some wires, a pair of scissors obviously to cut those wires. I've got a multimeter to check things later, and various components over here. These additional pieces, I want to use them to mount it with some sticky tape. And obviously you need some heat shrink and all these different plugs in here. So this is where I keep all my stuff. I buy them from Amazon, and I keep them just obviously buy them in bulk, and you can use them for lots of different things. So this will be the start of this instruction today, and I'll show you how to solder this up, so stay tuned. Right, so first of all we'll start with soldering up a little 2S socket. So I've just put some flux on there, just on the outer pins. In the middle one you don't need. One of them's positive and one's a neg, but not for the moment. Just going to solder this on. I use a tea bag. I know it's funny, isn't it? But I lost the little foam piece that came with it, but it does exactly the same job, just for cleaning the iron off. So we'll just pop a little bit on solder on there. Don't hold it for too long because these are very thin, very weak plastic. It'll melt easily. So that's that done. Then we need to take a couple of pieces of wire. We want a positive and a negative on here. So first of all, let's just pair this back. Just run a little knife around, or whatever your preferred method is. You just need a little tiny piece of wire sticking off the end, and then that's going to be tinned. So that's the piece of negative, which is black, and then we need the positive, which obviously is red. So same with that, expose the inner core, and then just pop that onto your clamp or whatever method you're going to use to do yours. And again, a tiny little bit of flux on there helps massively. Give that another little clean and pop some solder onto that. That's all you need. Tiny little bit. That's the positive dom, and now we'll do the negative like this. Exactly the same method. So just getting all our bits prepared, ready for the construction of the rest of the board. Saves a lot of time, a lot of messing around later if we get them ready first. Right, so solder again, and again repeat to this one, just like that. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn this around, and don't forget, determine your negative and positive polarities on these, which is really important. Otherwise you're going to make a horrible hash of it if it gets polarity reversed. So just take some care with that. So first of all, the negative pole is, one way to check that you've got the correct polarity is to get a battery, use the balance lead, put that in. You can work out which is negative, which is positive. So that one there will be my negative, which is the first one we're going to solder on. Right, just adjust this up a little bit. You can do it by hand if you want, but I don't like getting hit by hot wire with my fingers, so I prefer to do it this way. Okay. Oh, it's a bit tricky, but it will get there. Right, so just put another little bit of solder on there, and then we'll have this one ready to go. Voila. And that's done. So now we want to use the red wire for positive, which is the other end. So take your pre-prepared piece of soldered wire, pop that onto there, like that, and then just apply some more heat. And that will do nicely. Make sure that's shiny, so put a bit more solder on. Like that. Perfect. Right, so I put a piece of heat shrink on there, just adding another piece now. You need to put this on there really because you don't want any sort of nasty shocks with shorting. So that's the heat shrink on in the proper places on the red and black. Take a lighter or a heat source of some kind and just apply some heat to them, and that's done. That's insulated now. So again on the other end, I've prepared the insulator off with a knife, and then just pre-tin these wires. And then we're ready for the next stage. Right, back to the board itself. These are the power take-up points here. So that's the silver one is negative, and the one next to it is positive. So we'll just drop some solder into there. Ready to put the power wires on. Having already put some flux on, then we take the cable itself, the 2S cable, and negative is there, so we need to pop that one, hold it nice and still if you can. Negative on, and we won't get these too close together because obviously you don't want them shorting, so I'll put that out there a little bit. That looks like a good joint. I'm going to check this later with the multimeter to make sure there's no shorting, but for now that looks really good. So that's that piece done. Right, we're now going to put the trainer plug on. So you plug this into your transmitter with the audio jack, audio cable. So you want to take the third one in, that one there, put a little bit of paste on there, same on that one, a bit of paste on there. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so you then need to find the third one along from this side. You've got U-blocks part down there. There's your earth, and there's the third one along. So you've got the reset button there and USB there. So make sure it's this side. So you want that one to apply your power cable, your Right, I've got this plug that I've used before because one of these boards failed, so rather than make another one up, I'm just going to use this audio jack just to save myself some time. But basically you want one of these, and this is the exact areas. There's 3 pins, you want these 2 pins. The front one is positive, the rear is negative. Okay, so it's exactly the same. So on these points on the board, the negative is down here, so I'm going to put that negative on there first, so there's no confusion about where that goes. and I already pre-tinned that on there, so oops, it just pulled off a little there. Oh, this is easy. Right, I sweat it onto there, and then take the positive cable. Oh shit! Right, I'm going to put the positive on there, negative on there first. Sorry, so just give that a quick wipe. Get the old solder off of there. Just hold that on there. This might be a little bit painful on your fingers momentarily, but it's the easiest way I found of doing it. Okay, I've soldered onto that pad there now. And then the third one down, which is there, is where this one goes, which I also pre-soldered. Just a case of holding it on there now and soldering it. This could be a finger tingling experience as well. Which is kind of weird because there's a lot of heat on there already. This one's proving trickier. Okay, it looks like I need to put a bit more solder on there. Help things flow a bit. And we have it. Yep. That's done. So that's the third pin down. And then that pin there with the big square background is where your earth goes, and that's your positive up there. So that looks okay. I'm just going to put a little bit more solder on there because I'm not really sure if that's had a good joint or not. It has now. Okay, there we are. Right, next you want to put some solder onto these points. These oppose each other diagonally on the momentary switch. That's the correct way to do this. And if you follow this, you can't go wrong. Okay, so that's those two opposite points there on the diagonal soldered. That's the tinning done. You then need to get your wires to run across there. And for that I'm going to just use some servo wire. Doesn't need to be very long, say about just over an inch. And pair both ends with, doesn't matter what colour these wires are because it's the momentary switch, and so it's not important that they have to be polarised. So don't worry about that. So take your knife, roll it around gently, pull the insulator off. Do that for both pieces of wire. And it'll go well if you do it this way, so just copy what I'm doing, you'll be fine. Not too much pressure when you're pairing wires because you can just, these wires are really thin underneath and you can quite easily cut them through. Don't want to do that. So that's good enough for what I want to do. Now I'm going to pop this wire on here and I'm going to put a tiny bit of paste on each one, each end, and then we'll start soldering that, or tin it rather. Give it a little wipe on the tea bag. And you pop it on there like that. As I showed you before, it's really quite easy. Just like that. I'll repeat that for the second wire. Right, now let's solder this onto here. The first momentary pin point. I've got that a little bit too far away. Hold on. That'll do. So, get that soldered onto there. Like that. That's one of them done. Right, tin the other wires. Clean the soldering iron first. This is a Parkside wireless soldering iron. Just use a rechargeable battery, it's really handy. Anyway, so what we do now, a bit of solder on the ends of these wires again. And like that. Like that. And then we're going to pull this nearer to the unit. This is the momentary switch. This is what you'll be resetting the center of your goggles with when you're flying. So, and there we go, it's done. Now I'm going to add this to the board. Okay, I've soldered this up now, momentary switch. It's pre-tinned and I put some heat shrink on that already. So now we need to solder it to this point and this point. So that's going to be the next job. Put some paste on there again, just a dab to help it flow. And the other side, just a dab, like that. And we're going to pre-tin that too. So take soldering iron and some solder. Let's give that a little clean again. And then we'll just drop a piece in there. So, and again the other side. So we're now ready, that's it, we're now ready to finally solder this on. Actually that's not good enough, let's give that a little bit more on there. Try not to touch any other parts while you're doing it with a hot iron. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Right, momentary switch is down here. Solder the first point on. A little bend on the end of that first to help it. Like that. Bit of heat on there. Ooh, try that again. Not very good. Right, I'm going to start that again because it looks like slightly screwed up. Right, that's better. I'm going to put a bit of solder on the top of that. It looks a bit dry, that joint. Oops, yeah, I thought that might happen. Never mind, try again. Well, I'm now going to solder this onto the momentary switch onto the two pre-soldered pads. So just hold that carefully on there. Just enough heat. And that's your momentary switch on that side. And the other end of the switch harness onto the other side. Alright. Okay, that's done. That's the momentary switch there. That's your audio jack there, and your power cable there for your 2S battery. And that's it. That's all the soldering. So I'm just going to get the meter out and check the connections and make sure there's no shorts, and then we'll go from there. Be right back. Right, just check it's set on to continuity. That makes a noise when you connect. So if you've got a short anywhere, this will show up if you've got a short. So we're going to put that on there and on there. So on the power pins, no shorts. It's great. Don't need to check the other end because it's all connected. So we're going to try these pins here. There should be nothing off the momentary switch. Not until I press that button. Let's see if I can do that. There you go. That works. And on these two, this is positive here, and this is negative here. Nothing, no problem, no continuity. So it looks good. So I can carry on and proceed with finishing this up. So we'll make the case next. Okay, so I'm just going to use Yoo-Hoo Pour for this, just to kind of glue that down, and also seal all the connections. So just take Yoo-Hoo glue. I've got a lot left in here, but I do. And it doesn't really matter where that goes on the board, it's just a switch, so I'm going to put it in the easiest area to put it on, which is there. Separate that, it's contact glue. It's got enough glue on the other side. Then we want a strip of glue along here for the audio jack. Like that. And it's got glue on both sides. So that's glued, so I'm going to let that go tacky. So what I'm going to do to seal the power cable up, I'm just going to run some Yoo-Hoo Pour around there. It doesn't have to be Yoo-Hoo Pour, you can use any sort of glue really. Or you could use hot glue, doesn't really matter. I just find this a lot more convenient. And again, for these joints here, just run some glue over there. And you don't want any strain to be put on the cable, so this will help keep them there longer. Not brilliant, but that'll do. We're going to let that go right off hard. Let that go tacky. I'll come back in a minute and stick those down permanently. Right, I've finished this now and I've covered it in some 6mm Depron, which is this stuff. It's just foam. You can use whatever you like. You can find some case to modify from plastic or whatever, but I just do this because it's easy for me. And I've got a hole there for the audio jack. There's the momentary switch for resetting the goggles. It's just under this vinyl tape which I covered it with, and I made an extension here to put a 2S battery that will go into your head strap. So that's it, it's pretty simple. There's USB there, and I'll just fix that on with some double-sided tape or some Velcro, whatever. But that's how you make a BLE head tracker. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please subscribe. Please tell other people.
Please charge it in time.
And then let other people know what I'm doing. I'll be very grateful. Thank you.